Hello, it's me grabbing coffee, badly, so you can see what it looks like. It's also the Friday Talkie. It's also my 7,000 subscriber milestone special, random, expanded, extended, rambling, disorganised thing. I had some stuff I was going to talk about before I realised I was going to hit 7,000 subscribers. So I'm going to talk about that. I had some things I was going to talk about when I realised I was going to hit 7,000 subscribers. So I'm going to talk about those. Interestingly, those coincide with two videos that were put up today. Well, I'm going to say today. Today is Friday as I record this now, but it's probably not going to get put up till Saturday because I'm quite late doing it. But anyway, two videos, one by Lawn Boys Post 1975 and one by PsimanUK, who asked some very interesting questions that are very relevant to the things I was going to talk about. So I'll get to them in a bit. Ultimately, what this is going to turn into is probably a window into the life of what it's like to be Steve Benway with 7,000 subscribers. Whether that interests you or not is another thing. The first thing, this was originally going to be the title of this Friday Talkie. It was going to be, "It's Not Logical, Captain." And this stems from comments last week, when I started doing all the Game Boy Advance videos. Lots of people were saying, hey, why don't you use a Game Boy player for the GameCube? Because I don't. I don't have one. I don't use one because I don't have one. I don't have one because I choose not to. Definitely not because I don't know about them. I absolutely do know about them. But I choose not to have one. And this is kind of where the title comes from. It's not logical. When it comes to collecting, and to a lesser degree retro gaming, and what I have in mind for this channel and the kind of videos that I put up, the way I choose to do things is not necessarily logical. A lot of it is to do with nostalgia or my view of how things should be, how I want to represent what I do. Some of it is kind of about purity, and Game Boy Advance games to me were designed to be played on a Game Boy Advance, so I show them on a Game Boy Advance or a DS Lite, which is cheating, but it's closer to a Game Boy Advance than having it on a big LCD TV. It's silly, really. It doesn't make a lot of sense because I've got that Lexibook thing, which is a handheld. Spilling my coffee on myself. Yeah, I showed the games for that on my big TV, so bang goes the whole purity thing. Ultimately, I think it just, maybe because I'd never had a Lexibook, I'd never played it as a handheld. I bought it and then I played it on the TV. But Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games, I play on a handheld. That's the only reason I buy them, is to play on a handheld. So I kind of try to represent that when I make the videos, and putting them up on a big TV with a Game Boy player wouldn't be the same thing. Now that's all about, it's kind of an emotional thing. And it isn't logical, because you would get a better, as a viewer, you would get a better experience. You would see the game more clearly if I used a Game Boy player. But I don't. It's not logical. And that's the thing. A lot of aspects of retro collecting, and maybe retro gaming, but definitely collecting, aren't logical. You can rationalize certain aspects of it. I can tell you, I collect all this stuff because these are things that when I was a kid I heard about and couldn't afford, and then as an adult there was a time where I found I could afford to buy them, so I did. That's rationalising, and it kind of sounds logical, but in a sense it isn't, because, okay, just because I can afford them, why would I? You know, it's not logical. And I kind of had a thought about where I was going to go with this whole thing, but it's all going out the window. But I guess what ultimately it comes down to is sometimes you'll get people who will leave comments that are entirely logical and reasonable things because what they're saying is logical. Someone can say to me, why don't you use the Game Boy player? And that's a very logical thing to say. And I sit there and I think, for fuck's sake, I know all about the Game Boy player, shut up about it. And that's really bloody grumpy of me. And that's not because they've done anything wrong, it's because some things aren't logical. The things that I do aren't logical, and when I sit back and think about it, I know that person's not doing anything wrong, they're being helpful. And I am not being logical, I'm not being rational, I'm being a grumpy bastard, and I can't expect them to know how I think about these things and how I do them and why I do them, because the reasons I do them aren't logical. But it's an emotional thing, and I think a great deal of collecting is all about emotional connections, things that are entirely personal to you, and certainly can cause some odd reactions in comments, be it from me or other people in response to perfectly reasonable questions or comments. I've seen it happen. I know I do it. I know I on occasion react in ways that are completely unreasonable. And I'm sure it leaves some people thinking, what the fuck is he on? More about that later. Yeah. I don't know if I've said what it was I wanted to say. I had it all laid out in my head. Monday, but here we are on Friday, and so many other things going on. I've forgotten a lot of what I was going to say. That happens a lot. It's funny, actually. I mean, I have last week, the week before, something. I really was struggling. I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know what to say. My motivation was out the window. I think I only put out 3 videos in a week. Some of it, I mean, I had a migraine and then I had other things going on and blah. But you sometimes just reach a point where you think, I just don't feel like it. You get sick of it. And then this week has been, it's been pretty spectacular. From where I'm sitting, from my perspective, my spirits are risen. It's a appalling grammar. Sentence. Yeah, you know, back on a high, back on a, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going with this channel, kinda. Or not. But at least enjoying it again, because I went through a little bit where I was just like, I don't want to do it. Yeah. How disorganised and rambling was that? And I've only just started. Decaf, before you wonder. Okay, so getting on to 7,000 subscribers. Bloody hell. Do you know what? I don't even know what 7,000 people looks like. I went back through all of my, well, my very first milestone video was at 500, and I looked at, I did shout-outs, and I'm going to do shout-outs later. It's going to be a shout-out extravaganza. So I'm sitting here looking at a list of URLs that I've got on my screen over there, and wondering why one of them looked slightly odd from the rest, because it was https:// where the others didn't have the S. And I'm wondering why that one had the S, because that's a secure URL. You don't want to know that, it's irrelevant. What the hell was I talking about? 7,000. Yes, I was looking at my 500 subscriber shout-outs and thinking, wow, that's cool, because most of those people are still there. Most of them are still people who are at the centre of the YouTube community, people who I associate with and consider to be friends, and I thought, how cool is that? But anyway, what I was going to talk about was what it's like to have 7,000 subscribers and how cool it is and the drawbacks. And then I had a look, I spotted, I'd already watched one video, and then Atsuma Karim pointed me at another one, which they're both on very similar subjects. First one is, I saw this one first. I've lost the bloody, where is it? Where you gone? It's Lawn Boys Post 1975. Do you want to have a big YouTube channel? Is there a downside to popularity? Brilliant question. He talks about that. Go watch his video after mine. And then there is a video by PsimanUK. What is the perfect size for a YouTube channel? And he asks some very good questions and makes interesting points and stuff. And I'm going to try and address some of the things in that video as well. Links to both of those down there. What I'm not going to do is directly answer those, but they made me think of some things which I'll try and remember while I'm talking. So I won't answer them directly, but I'm going to try and cover a lot of points that they raise or ask or stuff. 7,000 subscribers, big number, and I do love it. What's it like? Because there are ups and downs, there are positives and negatives. Things that Lawn Boys Post said is like a lot of people start their channel with the intention of it's a way of talking to people, having a conversation, and you get to meet people with the same interests that you wouldn't necessarily meet in the real world. And this is true. I don't know anyone who I haven't met on YouTube in the real world who shares my interest. Not one person. I knew someone once many years ago, don't know what happened to him. So yes, it started off, it was a way of chatting with people, and I had no real clue as to how it would turn out, where it would go, where it would lead to, what the possibilities were. In fact, I didn't know what YouTube was for. I was just putting up random videos of my pets. And I've told this story countless times. And then I put up a video of my collection, and then people said, whoa, that's really cool, put up videos of your games. So I did. And it all kind of snowballed from there. And now I find myself here. 7,000, I mean, what the hell is 7,000 subscribers like? Because it's not famous. I am not famous. I'm not a celebrity. I don't consider myself to be a celebrity. I don't consider myself to be an expert on retro gaming history, on any of this hardware. There are a great many people who know a great deal more about all this stuff than me. I'm just a guy with a hobby who's a bit obsessive about it and likes to talk about it. And I found that injecting humour into that, certainly in the gameplay videos, is fun to do and gets a good response. And that really is why, a big part of why I do it now. I like the response. I like what people say, that people come back and tell me, I enjoyed that, that was fun, that made me laugh. I really like it. If I've amused people, it makes me feel good. And that ultimately is why I do it. There are other reasons, and I will go into them. Trying to keep my train of thought, it's just derailed and fallen down the embankment. Yeah. So, paused. I probably ought to go back and see what I've said before continuing, but I'm not going to. Complete blank. Ugh. Too many things to try and say and can't organise it. But anyway, so I do like the buzz of people saying that was great, and that's a positive. It's not actually why I do it, but it's a big part of what I enjoy about it. But I still consider myself to be just a normal guy. I do get an amount of reactions from people who do talk to me like I'm a celebrity, and I sort of understand where they're coming from. People have watched me for several years on, I don't know, the small screen, sometimes on a big TV and whatnot, and there is that, you know, if you're sitting there and watching this guy on a regular basis on your TV in your living room, there's a certain perception there of, wow, this guy is someone. I'm not. I'm really not. I am no different from you, except probably a little bit more obsessive and probably slightly fucked up. More of that later. But anyway, there are a lot of upsides. One really great thing about having a big bundle of subscribers, and I mean, I keep saying a lot of subscribers, it's actually, in the scheme of things, it's not a lot. 7,000 is, it's a hell of a lot more than I started out with. It's a hell of a lot more than I ever thought I would get. But then you can look at your people with 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever, and even the ones at 100,000 aren't even touching. I mean, you can go stratospheric with your big channels that YouTube actively promotes, who have got like over 1 million, and even they're not famous. They are YouTube celebrities, but they're not famous. You step off of YouTube, you step away from YouTube and ask a person on the street, have you heard of this guy? Have you heard of what's his name? Ray William Johnson. Ask someone on the street, who's Ray William Johnson? They won't know. Ask them who's Thingy Dawson, what's his face? They won't know who that is. And these are massive people on YouTube, so 7,000 is nothing. But in our dinky little, in our little corner of the interwebs and our little corner of YouTube, it's a nice number, and I like it because I know that I can sit here and go blah and someone will see it. Quite a few people will see it, certainly. And this is where we get into the downside. More people comment than I can answer now, than I can reply, and that's kind of, I won't say I dreaded, but I always knew that the time would come where I wasn't able to answer every single comment, because I used to do that and I enjoyed doing that, and I love answering the comments because it is all about the communication, the back and forth and chatting and sharing ideas, and when you find there aren't enough hours in the day to reply to everyone, it's a shame. It also is, it's kind of pressurizing. You feel this responsibility. These people have taken the time to comment, you should reply, and when you can't, it hurts a little bit in a way. It's this sort of, it gnaws at you, but you just kind of have to accept that. You know, with the positives come the other side of it, and that is, of course, the other side of it is you will get trolled. The bigger you are, the more trolls you get. And there are, I mean, I've been doing this for quite a few years, over 5 years. I'm not sure exactly how many years I've been doing it. Since, well, I started the channel in 2007. I started putting up videos regularly in 2008. So, you know, I've been doing it a while. And I know how to handle trolls. It took me a while. I made mistakes. I got involved in drama once upon a time. And what I have learned is just do not respond. Never ever openly in a video name them. Naming and shaming does not work. It encourages them. I learned this the hard way. Block, ignore, delete the comments. Don't give them a platform to speak on. All of my older videos now that are older than a couple of weeks, I put them onto approval required. People can leave comments, and if they're trolls, no one ever sees their comment but me. And take away that platform, they soon sod right off. Most of my viewers who comment will know that they can comment here and know that if someone replies to them in a twattish manner, that comment will get removed. And it's good. It works well because I get a high quality of commenter here and I like it. But anyway, that's the way I deal with things. That's something that I learned. But, you know, the more popular you get, the bigger your channel you get, God, I can't put a sentence together. The more viewers you get, the more trolls will notice you, and you will have to find strategies to deal with them. And initially they can bug you to a degree until you learn how to deal with all that, and then it's like water off a duck's back and you just don't worry about it. But you do, you know, you get more. put your head up above the parapet and someone's going to try and shoot it. That's how it works. But you don't actually have to be thick-skinned to learn or to deal with it after a time. Because I'm not thick-skinned. I'm actually a really sensitive person. You might not believe that. More on that later as well. But you learn strategies so that that kind of nonsense after a time doesn't bother you. Other downsides. Okay, this is one that is, I don't know how personal it is to me, or how specific it is to me. After something someone said to me yesterday, I would say that I am shy in the real world. It's not actually completely true. Alright, Play Expo, whatever, is coming up. I'm not going. Now, there are a number of reasons I'm not going, quite a few actually. One is that it's gone in a kind of direction that I'm just not into. It's on the modern gaming, it looks like a trade fair, and I just don't give a crap. It's still got the retro stuff, but there is an element of, yeah, seen that, done that, been twice. It was not entirely different the second time from the first time. So I'm kind of like, eh. It's also in a venue that I liked it being in Blackpool. I don't want to go to Manchester. My last experience of Manchester was not a good one. I spent a week there at the hospital while Andrea was having a blood clot on the lung. And I'm not in any hurry to go back there. Not logical, but there it is. And another aspect of why I don't go kind of connects with having a lot of subscribers and being known by a lot of people, but that ties in with something else which one or two of you will know about me and an awful lot of you won't. People. I am very uncomfortable with people in the real world, and there's a reason for it. I have a neurological condition, shall we say. My brain doesn't work in the same way as yours, and I don't mean that just like saying, yeah, I'm just a little bit quirky and whatever. No, literally, I'm wired up different. I don't think in the same way as you. I perceive people with the same part of my brain as I perceive that door or this chair. And that sounds weird, and it affects the way I think, and it affects things like my sense of humour. I can say things that are entirely inappropriate. And it's only if I sit back and think about it later that I realise it's inappropriate. But it also means I've got an IQ of 128, which is pretty cool. But I've got an EQ, emotional IQ, of about 38, which is positively retarded. And what that means is on emotional things, I'm bloody clueless, and it means I don't get people. I don't necessarily understand how they work, and I'm absolutely not comfortable around them because I'm having to think more about, is this the right thing to do, or what did they mean by that, or why are they looking at me weird because I just said this. It's difficult, it's stressful, and I avoid situations where I've got to deal with people a lot. I don't like it. And when I say I don't like people, that's what I mean. It's not like I don't like you, I think you're a tosser. It means I find this difficult being around you because I find it difficult to be around people. There will be those who will speculate, is there a name for this condition? Yes, there is, and I'm not telling you because I will not be labelled. Apart from the fact that there will be trolls who jump on that and say, he's mental. No, it's not a mental illness, it's a neurological condition, and there's a difference. Anyway, yeah, so it's like having a lot of people who know me mean that going to a place where I might be recognised by an awful lot of people would become quite stressful. So I've got to really be in the mood to go somewhere like that, and too many reasons not to versus too many reasons why I want to mean I'm not going to replay Expo thingamajig doodah this year. That's a downside, but I mean that's a good deal to do with me than this channel. Something, maybe. It's, yes, there's the thing. It's kind of weird, and this is something that was said in reference to me going on a particular podcast, and I said I'm shy, and who was it who replied? Yeah, it's Retro Gamer Tim. Said it's quite interesting that quite a few YouTubers say they're shy and possibly find it awkward getting in onto the podcast thing. And that is the thing, there is a big difference between doing this and being on a podcast or meeting a load of people who know who I am. I can sit here and go blah 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 and there's only me in the room, and I know over probably about 1,500 people will see this video, and I'm fine. I'm sitting here comfortable as you like, because those 1,500 people aren't here in the room and they're not talking to me, and I haven't got to think about what they've just said to me and then think of an appropriate and meaningful response and then give that response. And that's why podcasts are different, because you've got a bunch of people there talking and I've got to sit and listen to them and behave in an appropriate manner. I'm not big on that. It's, you know, to comprehend what they've said and say something relevant and appear normal. I don't do normal. Or I do, but I just don't. It takes a lot of effort. Yeah, okay. So there are downsides, but what I've got to tell you, the upsides massively, massively, massively outweigh the downsides. One aspect of it, there's the money, and this really only applies to people, not partnership, but those who are using the monetization. And I mean, I have to be careful what I say because there are rules on what you can say on the subject. You've got to have a hell of a lot more subscribers than mine, with a hell of a lot more, or a hell of a lot more videos than I have, to make anything significant, I mean, to live on. You can't live on it unless you're big, and I'm not into... God, that can be missing. I'm not very big. But 7,000 subs with 1,200 odd videos and ads on every single one of those videos brings in a meaningful amount of revenue. I can't specify how much, but it makes a difference. It means, given that I'm not working, I have I can live with a little bit more dignity than I would otherwise. I'm not a drain on the state, for those who would say, you scrounging dull boy. No, I'm not, actually. I'm not going to go into the details of my finances, but I'm not a drain on the state. I can say that I am not sponging off of my wife, though I will acknowledge that I wouldn't be living nearly as comfortably as I do if I wasn't married to her. But I'm not sponging. Yeah, having this channel as it is allows me a little more dignity than I otherwise would have. So that's a positive, very positive. I like it. And that brings me round to another question that was asked both by Psiman and by Lawnboy's post. How big would you like your channel to be, and what is the ideal size for a channel? And these are actually not the same thing, depending on your point of view. In terms of communicating with subscribers, replying to comments, having conversations, being able to interact and keep up with what everyone else is doing, I found it easiest while I was at about 1,000 subs. It was a number where I knew I was being watched by a good number of people, but I wasn't getting swamped, and it was nice. Yeah. Purely for interacting on a community level, 1,000 is brilliant. After that it gets harder. But how big would I like it to be? Massive. It's not going to happen. But part of the egomaniacal side of me, I would like hundreds of thousands. I would like millions. Do I realistically expect that? Am I pushing for that? Am I trying to be famous? No, of course not. That would be ridiculous. Like I said, no one on YouTube is famous. But I would like it to be as big as it's possible to get. Why not? I think if you're doing this and don't want viewers, why on earth? Why do it? again, it's not logical. There is a contradiction there, because I love the community side of it, and it pains me when I can't keep up. But I still want more. I don't think it can ever reach a point where I can say, yeah, that's enough, I don't want any more. When I had 1,000, I was just like, I want 2,000, I got to 2,000, I want 4,000. You know, to me now, I wasn't even going to do a milestone video at 7,000, I was waiting for 10,000, that to me is the next big number. But I just did this one anyway. I think partly, no, I was going to do it anyway before I saw those 2 videos, but they were an added incentive. Yeah, how big do I want it? As big as it's possible to get. However big it gets, I will always want more. The money is an incentive. I can't deny that. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love doing it. I just think if you don't want any more, if you don't want lots of people watching, I don't know. I know there are lots of positives to having a small channel. You don't get swamped. And I certainly wouldn't... I can't disagree with anyone who says, yeah, I've only got a small channel and I'm happy with that. I was happy with mine when it was small. I'm happy with it where it is now. I've never not been happy with it. Doesn't mean I've never wanted more. Maybe I'm just greedy. I don't know. It's actually it is a tricky question to answer. And I mean, this comes back to the it's not logical. The answer is filled with contradictions. It's harder as you get bigger. Whoa. But I still want more. Saying that, I don't ever... It's funny because there are people who started making videos, putting up videos at the same time as me, who are now vastly more popular, have vastly more viewers. And that doesn't bother me. There are people who have put up vastly fewer videos than me and are vastly more popular. And that doesn't bother me. There is never, I'm not competing with anyone. There's no, oh bloody hell, I should have more than him, I'm putting in more time and effort and blah blah blah. Nothing, no, never even enters into it. I take the view that if someone has more viewers, more views, it's because what they're doing is more appealing to more people. They have a more appealing personality. Mine is an acquired taste. I know that. There's a funny thing actually. I saw a comment, I read a comment yesterday that made me chuckle. I'm going to read it to you, if I can find it. Actually, I'll just read part of it. Yeah, here we go. The way this person described me, it's 666 Devil's Advocate, referring to my nice guy who sort of hates everything. Image, motif, whatever. And I'd never actually thought of myself like that. And it just made me chuckle. I've forgotten what the point was I was trying to make. Yeah, how you're perceived, how your personality comes across on there. I had never actually thought of myself as being like that. I mean, yeah, I do like to think I'm a nice guy, but by God, I can be an arsehole with it. Usually in comments. Yeah, so I mean, I totally accept that some people are always going to be more popular because what they do is more appealing. So I never sit there and think, they shouldn't have more than me. No, that's just how it works, and I'm completely happy with it. It's a learning experience. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself doing this, and the more people you get to meet, the more you learn about people. And by God, I need to learn about people because I still don't get them, as I've said. But you learn a lot about yourself. I have learned that I do fly off the handle sometimes in comments. I have learned not to do that in video, but I do it in comments, and I know that, I mean, this comes back to the how to deal with trolls thing, and I know that I sometimes get it wrong. There have been occasions where someone has made a joke and I've taken offence, missing the joke entirely, though I mean it's never a good idea to use sarcasm in comments, because text, yeah, it's too easily misconstrued, and I do misconstrue things very easily, and I can be a stroppy bastard if I think someone's being offensive or being rude. And I blocked some people who probably didn't deserve it, and there have been occasions where I've sort of thought better of it and unblocked them and apologised. Doesn't happen very often, but I've done it. And then there are other occasions where I've thought, I've blocked them, and then I've been thinking, maybe they weren't being a twat. And then they've gone and messaged me via someone else's comments and been a rude, ignorant twat. And I think, no, I was right about that one. So it is a tricky one. What you gonna do? You learn about yourself doing these things. There was something else. Yeah, it's funny as well, actually, just thinking about the troll thing. I sometimes really have to chuckle, because you'll come across a troll and they will say something abusive or obnoxious or just plain annoying, and you block them, you kick them off, and they come back with a new account and you spot them. They're really easy to spot, and you kick them off again, and then they come back and they think they're being really clever, and they're leaving comments and asking questions and interacting, and there is one right now. And they think I don't know who they are, and I'll tell you what, I'm the one who's laughing, because I know exactly who they are, and I'm just sitting there waiting to go ping. It's amusing. There are so many aspects to encountering a lot of people, and a lot more of them are good than bad. Oh yes, before I forget, another plus, another good point, is you get things like this happening. This month's Retro Gamer magazine, there's an article by Paul Drury where he interviews Eugene Evans, founder or co-founder of Imagine Software, which those of you who are of a certain age will remember as being like legendary for their Spectrum games and other things. Well, wacky waiters. Will the camera focus on that? Yeah, it will. Ha! Paul had been watching my video of Wacky Waiters, and indeed Catch a Snatcher, and he got hold of me and asked could I send him copies of the videos so that he could show them to Eugene, and I sent him them and he showed them to Eugene, and they sort of chatted about them and blah blah blah, and as well as the mention at the bottom of the page, which I didn't know he was going to do that, so big thank you to Paul for that. I got this. It's a signed photo of Eugene Evans, and a little message there, cheers for your help, and Eugene did watch your vids on my phone, Paul. How cool is that? I'm chuffed to bits. I need to find a clip frame or something to put that in. Things like that, they make me smile, because they're so unexpected, and having a certain profile on here makes things like that happen. You know, I've had an amount of contact with various media industry type people, magazines, TV station, production companies and that kind of thing. Never quite managed to get myself on the telly yet, though I have tried. Contacts with the BBC and stuff, but it's never gone anywhere yet. But, you know, those things are good, they're exciting. Not quite sure where I fitted this into the video, whether it's on the end or tacked in the middle somewhere, but there you go. Moving on, or something. Now, I have waffled on randomly and meandered and forgotten a whole lot of what I was going to say, and probably said a whole lot more than I should have. And normally at the end of a Friday Talkie, I do a shout out of a particular channel. And this time I'm going to give a shout. This isn't really a shout out because there are too many for me to put links down there. Last time I tried to do this, it wouldn't let me. But what I did today was go through all the channels that I have shouted out in the past, people who I've referred to, done responses to, who I have met, who have had some kind of impact on me on YouTube, who I just think cool people, want to mention. The difficulty with this is I know I've missed people. It's dangerous because there's always going to be someone thinking, you forgot me. And I hate that. But this is what I love about YouTube. This is having a big channel, big-ish. I don't know what you would call big actually, but you know, having 7,000 subscribers, we'll call it that. This is what's great about that. Let me turn the camera around. What is great about this is you get to meet and speak to and converse with or share ideas with or in some way or another encounter fantastic people. And these are just some of the fantastic people I have met in the 5 and whatever years that I've been doing this. And I am going to name them all and say that, yeah, I've missed some and I'm sorry if I've missed you. And I mean, some of these are people who I not necessarily am communicating with these days. Some I actually fell out with for one reason or another, but they had a positive impact on my channel at one time or another. In no particular order. It started out in kind of chronological-ish order, but then just turned into a mishmash. Gamester81, Luke Morse 1, Letters from the Left, who is also my other career, Jawsy Dreamcast, Mario Sonic 190, Marlin Lee, Maximum RD, Review Tech USA, Atari Leaf, Cessna Ace, Dino the Legend 87, Lactobacillus Prime, that's Mark Verheer, 8074, Polarventris, Freakin' D, Retro Gamer VX, Chipsters, Collie UK, Nostalgiaholic, which is also Gamester81, Bloodite Draken, Capiche 67, Techromancer 1, Atombat, J-Boy Pac-Man, Silent Do-Goods, Cyanide Breath Mints, The MU Review, MD Max 09, Hero Games, Alec Jan, Daryl Walshsock, that's a bloody hard one to pronounce, Deadly Headshot, Neo Jake 999 Gamer, Kawaii Princess 01, Maincade, Revolution DK, Revolution Action DK, Shen Muso, Shin Marayu, Stig's Game Room, The Police Naut, Vintage Video Game Geek, Yuri of Wind, Zypho, Xfile 2708, Bored with Usernames, Larry Bundy Jr., Huey 999, Tygon vs Liger, PSI 236, D Liberator 78, ZX Amiga 64, Gaming Zone X, Nyson Games, Austin McCurt, Kilgraz, Roy Story, Kettle's Geek TV, Replay Retro, Blue Tonic 78, Pompey Games Room, Hindley-Yak, 2Dave, also known as Retro Rewind, Acorn Electron TV, Fabio Bizzetti. Probably you didn't see half of those, but you heard them. Anyway, here we go, scrolling back up. UK Retro Game Addict, Jurassic Junkie, Old Classic Game, I think that's Old Classic Games, have I missed the S off there? Anyway, Red Knight 2476, Tips and Info, Matt Howlett, Devious Television, Quimby RBG, Murford Earth 83, Angel Murfett, The Gebs 24, Retro Bob 2084, Dan Central, Interghost, Junior D 1975, Airwolf, Ninja Bear Hug, The Secret Game Room, Gamers Keep, The Devils 28, Tojo841, Shock16, Arty Girl Ziggy 15, PsimanUK, Locomaniacs 1HMPS, Malk 1976, The Symbian Freak, Imperial Productions, David Hasselhoff, CMD Farsight, Commander Farsight, something like that, Kaz Xena, Sandam Todd, Chris Clean 1980, Demon of Gaming, Faulty Cog, Dumbass Paul Denton Can you see that one? I'm going to scroll up, you can read it. There. How do you Dumbass Paul Dentonkin. Yeah, that. Dan's Game Corner. Big Daddy Darth. GT3X24X7, or however you want to pronounce that. End to the Past. The Joy of Sticks. Jason Moore 87. Fuyaki World. With Your Universe HD. Murray EFC 78. Electric Adventures. Gaming History Source. Lewis Dublin. PC Faulkner. Zombie Andy 1979. 8-Bit Micro. Paul Spider. Rob Ivy 64. Niggs the Boss. The EEPROM 9. Smooth MJ. The Sainted Magnus Show. Potty 127. Retro Sofa. 65 Gamer Guy. HWC 1218. Pocket Mego. Old School Brian. Ed T1138. Atsuma Corinne. Gamer Calibra. Trouble 8385. Lawn Boys Post 1975. Enzo 42. Riddler on YouTube. RC Films 108. Crow 111. Jim Plays Games. Brian Peachy. Lofarius. Ryder Mike. Mr. Debauch. Chris Marder Games. The Blobor Area. I can't pronounce that. The Blobor Area. Pie Eater 163. I'm off the bottom here, you can't see. Yeah. Okay. Showers. One Go Short Play. Retro Gamer Tim. The Symbian Freak. Mark the Morose. The RPG Minx. Marlinism. Hunter Killer. Gameplay Jenny. Foxy Roxy 999. The Armchair Empire. Long Rod von Hugenden. There's probably meant to be a G on the end. Yeah. Dave Webster. The Games Shed. The Limey Dragon. Manic Laura Retro World. Games Bloke. Mistress Ishbu. Handheld Retro. SVT 512. And countless others. Ooh. Countless others who I talk to in comments. I'm sure there are people who've sent me stuff who I've tried to cram everyone in, but I'm sure I've forgotten people. The number of people who have had an impact on what I do, how I do it, how much fun I have, is immense. And that just makes doing this so much fun. The other thing that makes doing this so much fun is the number of people who come back to me and say, you made me laugh, you entertained me, I found what you did funny, you inspired me to make my own channel, you gave me something good to talk about or think about or whatever. The amount of positive feedback and knowing, here's the thing, in the real world, because of the kind of person I am, out there, outside of this house, I barely exist. Very, very few people have the faintest clue who I am. I can walk into town and I won't bump into someone I know, because I don't know anyone. I, in this town, have no friends at all. I have a couple of friends in Milton Keynes who I still count as friends, just a couple. But, you know, basically in the real world, I don't exist beyond someone who is maybe seen by the odd shop staff or whatever, you know, that guy who used to buy Marlboro Lights who stopped buying them 3 years ago. You know, the odd The odd shopkeeper will recognise my face or something like that, but you know, people who know who I am, nothing, no one, I don't exist. On here, I know that what I do means something to some people. I know there are people who know that I exist, and that's a good feeling. And yeah, I do find that the more people who know I exist there are, the bigger that good feeling is. Is that, does it count? You know, maybe to some people that wouldn't matter. Does that mean I'm a sad little person without a life outside of YouTube? No, not really, because I do have a life outside of YouTube. I have a wife and a family, and they are great, and I do like to spend a good bit of time with them. But you know, it means a lot to me, and there I am running out of words. Am I getting emotional? What do you think? Okay, I think I will stop there. I think I made all the points I wanted to say. I don't know if I made them clearly enough or in any way that means an awful lot, but yeah, there are some ideals for some aspects of having a channel if you want to communicate with people, and there are other ideals if you want to make money out of it. And yes, there are downsides that come with having a fairly big channel, but the upsides outweigh them immensely to me. And I can only speak for me, I can't speak for other people. But I love doing it, and I want to thank absolutely everyone who has subscribed, who watches, who comments, because it makes it all very enjoyable, worthwhile. Yeah, it's bloody awesome. Love it. I'll shut up rambling now. Let's see if I can edit this into something coherent. Probably not. It's probably going to be Saturday before you even get to see this. Certainly if you're in the UK. I don't know how long I've rambled on for. There we go. Thank you for watching. British Rail brain. I've totally lost the plot now. Yes, that's how I came to do this, and kind of looking at the fun side of it. I've got to pause. I can't think.